What is going on? My name's Justin from Red Mustard, and today I'm going to be showing you how to add custom fonts to your Shopify store so you can give it the extra pop that it needs. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now Shopify actually has a lot of fonts out of the box. If we come to the online store in the admin panel, under themes, we hit customize, and now on the left hand side we come to the paintbrush icon, which is the theme settings, and under typography we can see we have two options, one for headings and one for body. If we select change, we can see all of the different options that Shopify has. I believe they own the commercial licenses for them, or they have access to that, so you can select whatever font you want. Obviously this is the easiest way to change your fonts if you are happy with one of the options that are here. Now, if you have a specific font for your brand that doesn't exist, or there's just a particular font that you want to use, I'm going to show you how to add that now. The first thing that we're going to do is find the font that we want to use. I am wanting to use the Fonseca font that I've found through Envato Elements. Now, we have a subscription for this, so we get all of the licenses for free, commercial licenses that is. You want to make sure that whatever font you have the correct licensing for, preferably commercial if you're using it in a commercial context, but I'll leave that up to you. So we want to find the font families that we want, and we want to download those. The next thing we want to do is make sure that our fonts are in the WOFF or WOFF2 format. So my fonts are in OTF. I've just typed OTF to WOFF in Google. And I'm going to use cloudconvert.com. So all I do is select file, and this is the font family that I downloaded. You can see all the different versions. You will need to do this for each version that you want to use. I'm just going to use the Fonseca Black Oblique. So I'm going to hit open on that. We can see convert to WOFF. I'm going to convert that. Now it's converted. I just download it. Let me add another one, and let me do the same one but convert this to WOFF2. It will work if you just use WOFF, but I'm pretty sure that WOFF2 has better compression, and it's just a better option if you have that available. So now I have both of my fonts downloaded. I'm going to hop back over to the back end of the admin panel. And like we do for anything that involves editing code, we're first going to duplicate the current theme. Hit the three dots, hit duplicate. Just in case we muck anything up, we can always roll back to that previous version. The next thing we want to do is upload our fonts to Shopify. There's actually two ways that we can upload them. One is through the admin section where the files go, or we can add it into the theme in the assets folder. The first way I'm going to show you is through the admin file. So we want to come to the settings down the bottom left, come to files. You can see I've already uploaded some here. We're going to hit upload, and we find the files that just got compressed. Click upload on those, and we just wait for those. There we go. Now that's done. The other way that we can upload our font files is come to the theme that we're editing, hit edit code, come to the assets folder, click add a new asset, and we're going to upload our files from here. Looks like we can upload one at a time only. So you can use either of those two ways to upload your files. If you do it the first way, you'll be able to access those fonts through any theme as long as you do what we're just about to do with the CSS file. Whereas if you upload them to the assets folder like I just showed you, you will only be able to use those fonts on this theme because it's uploaded locally in this assets folder of this theme. So the next thing we want to do is come to the search files. I'm going to type in CSS. Now CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and it sets the styles for your entire theme/website. It's responsible for colors, fonts, border radiuses, anything that's visual on your site. CSS is what's setting it. And we want to look for the primary file where most of the CSS rules are set. That's usually in a file called base or main. In this case, it's called base. So I'm just going to open that file up. Cool. So this is the main CSS file. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. The first thing we're going to do is just add a couple new lines, and we're going to add some comments. So if you hit Command or Control / you're going to get a comment line. And we're just going to type in custom fonts. Just so we can easily search this later on down the track if we need to change these fonts. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is reference our fonts in the CSS file. We're going to do that by copying some code from this link, which I'll provide in the description below. The first code for non-admin is if we have uploaded the files to the theme. And the second one is for admin if we uploaded the files to the Shopify admin. The only difference between them is this little filter here that grabs the files from their respective location. So for us, it's not going to make a difference because I've uploaded them to both, but for the video's sake, I'm just going to use the first one. So Command C, copy that code, come to the theme file and paste that. And now I am going to replace this. Fonseca, black, oblique. Just need to make sure that it is the font family name spelt exactly how it is in the file name. And then also want to replace from the square brackets, Fonseca, black, oblique. And then I'll change the format to WFF2. Actually, I need to put .WFF2. So we need the exact entire file name there, exactly how it appears. And we have both versions, WFF and FF2. So we're just going to add the second one in here, comma, and then we'll just copy from URL. And delete the 2. And now we have both options available, and hit save. Okay, so now that we have uploaded our fonts to the assets folder of our theme or under the files in the Shopify admin, and we've also added our CSS rule font face, specifying our font family under the CSS base file or the main file, we now need to connect different elements on our theme to this family. We need to tell these elements to use this font. I'll show you what I mean. So if we come to the online store, which is the preview of the theme we're working on, we can see a title here, some text down here. And if we right click, hit inspect, and select this little arrow in a box icon, we can now hover over and it tells us that this is an H2 element. And then this is also an H2, this is an A element, this is a P element. So that's what I mean. We need to link those two up. We need to tell in the CSS folder that we want these particular elements to use that font. So there's two ways of doing this. The first way is to come back to the CSS file we're in, and we can just say the P element, and we add the rule font family, type Fonseca black, whatever your font name is, just like that. We hit save. And if we reload our theme, we can now see that the font has changed. If we do the same thing, hover over it, Fonseca black oblique. So we can do that for all of the elements on the page. We can just add in here with a comma, H2, A, hit save. Reload the page. And it doesn't look like everything has changed. So if we select again, we can see that that one's changed, but that one hasn't. And this one hasn't. So what's going on? And this is the problem with this method of doing it. CSS has something called inheritance and specificity, and that kind of determines which CSS rules should be applied in which circumstances. I won't go into it, but yeah, it kind of just depends on however the CSS is written. Sometimes your rule might get applied, sometimes not. It's kind of hard to know. There is a quick way of getting around it, which isn't always recommended, but we can come into font family, and in the same rule, we can add this keyword called important. And that essentially forces this rule, our font family rule, to be the most important rule on our elements. So it should override any other elements changing the fonts. So we add the important keyword, we hit reload, and now we can see all of our fonts have changed. We can confirm that. Cool. So you can totally use this method. You just need to keep in mind that this isn't necessarily best practice, and you would have to do this for every single element that you wanted to use that font. So there's a few more, like you might want H1 title, H3. That's probably about all right, but that is one way of doing it. The second way to do it is a little bit trickier, but I feel like it's better practice, and it kind of works better for the flow of the CSS. So what I'm going to do is just command / comment that out, which will now turn that off. And we're essentially going to interject where the original theme fonts are set. So if you remember, under the customizer, we had the typography options. Now selecting these options does a similar thing to what we just did with our custom fonts, except it adds those fonts into a custom variable for the entire theme. So it says this here is the font for all headings, and this here is the font for all bodies. And then within our CSS file, it references whatever that top level variable or placeholder is, and then it makes changes based on that. So if we scroll through the CSS, if we actually in fact hit Command F and type font, we will find in here, if we just have a look through a few different options. Yep, here we go. So we're seeing this -- font body family, font heading family. These are all set top level by that theme customizer, and then I used all throughout the CSS file, all over the theme. And essentially in the first way, what we just did is we're just overriding it for these particular elements. That is why we needed to add the important keyword, because in some instances, these other specifications, these other ways that this has been applied, it's not overriding it properly. So we needed to force the override with the important keyword. But what we can do instead is actually come in right where this is defined here in the variable and make our change there, essentially disconnecting this pre-built font by Shopify and putting our own font in there. So what we want to do, this actually isn't usually defined in the CSS file. It's usually defined in the theme liquid. So if we open theme liquid, we will find, and for this is here, it's usually on the root element. It's called :root, and you'll see -- font body family, -- font heading family. So these are where our CSS fonts are being set top level globally for the entire theme. And you can see here that these are currently set to settings.typeHeaderFont.family. And that's essentially just saying take from the theme settings here in the customizer and put this font as the font heading family and one for the font body family. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this here. I'm just going to copy this row, move it up one, and actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. So we're going to make two. We're going to make two of those. We're going to do the same thing for this one. Copy, make two of these. And the thing with CSS is it works from top to bottom. So if I go and add our own custom fonts to this second option, that's going to get applied last. So it'll first apply these ones, and then it will apply this. And the benefit of doing that is if it can't find our font, we've mucked something up, it's just going to stay with the original one that you selected through the theme customizer. And so all we want to do is come here and do the same as we usually, Fonseca, black, oblique. Let's copy that. And we'll do the same thing for this one. So we're making sure that we're just changing the font heading and font body. We're not touching the style or the weight. We're just doing the font heading family and font body family. We've duplicated the two lines and we're applying it to the bottom one because that is the order that they get applied. So it would first, the original one would be applied and then this one would get overwritten on top of it. So that'll be the last one for the body families, and then the same thing for the header. But if this can't get applied, then it'll just continue on with the standard one. If we hit save, now remember we've already commented this out. So in theory, actually let's just delete that. In theory, this should be applied to everything now without needing to select those different elements. So if we come back to our online store, we hit reload. Let's just reload again. And you can see it's been applied to everything. If we select the element, we can actually see where this is being applied from. If we scroll all the way down, we can see here, these are all the root styles where we just changed. And if we look here, we can see Harmonia Sans. Let me see, oh no, crossed out and replaced with Fonseca Black. Same with this one here, Harmonia Sans, replaced with Fonseca Black. And that's all we need to do. So in my opinion, the second way is actually a lot cleaner and makes sure that all your fonts are overwritten. You don't have to go and individually specify anything. Make sure that all the inheritance and specificity is set up properly, so you don't have to worry about using the important keyword or some things overwritten in certain circumstances or not. And if we want to switch back to the originals, we can just come to the changes that we've made. We can either comment these out or we can delete them, hit save. Reload our page, and now we're back to the original fonts. One thing that might be good to do is just add an extra line here. What I'm doing is just command / and we just type custom font, and here custom font, just so that's a little bit easier to find in our code. I can't be bothered fixing up that styling. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that when you add this, when this isn't commented out, you're overriding the typography options here. So if someone comes in and starts changing these around, they're not going to work because they're being overridden, because this font rule is coming after this, as I demonstrated before. So if you do want to switch back to the fonts from Shopify, you need to come in, comment those out, again hit save, and now when we go back to our store, this is back to, oh no, I uncommented them. So it's back to Fonseca Oblique, but yeah, if we commented them out, it would then go back to the original styles, which is set here and here. So that's it for today's video. If you've got any comments, pop them down in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.